welcome back to my channel. This is Leo's Nerd Talk, and today we're going to be talking about Mad Max Fury Road. So let's get into that. Hi, my name is Leo, and we guys like talking about movies, TV shows, video games, or just anything nerdy. You have come to the right place. And like I said, we're talking about Mad Max Fury Road. So without further ado, let's get into the review. Now, Mad Max Fury Road follows both Max and Furiosa as they're going on their way back to the Green Place, trying to bring back all of these women that Immortal Joe has kind of enslaved for breeding back to where Furiosa was born and where her home really is, and Mad Max kind of assisting her in that journey on the Fury Road. And this movie's kind of strange in terms of the timeline with Mad Max, because there's a lot of articles saying that this movie takes place in a completely different timeline, way in the future, not chronically with the previous three trilogy that we had before. But there is an interview with George Miller himself saying that this movie takes place right after the events of Thunderdome, but it is in a separate timeline where some of the events of the previous movies have changed a little bit to set up Fury Road. And that's why you see throughout the entire movie where Max is having visions of all the kids and stuff, all the kids that he kind of wasn't able to save in Thunderdome, and maybe even from Road Warrior. So that's why throughout the entire movie you see him having those visions, and some of the visions are reminiscence of what happens in Thunderdome. So chronologically, this still takes place within the same universe, just the timeline is a little bit different, and there's certain events that change to kind of fit Fury Road, from what I've read at least. I don't know if that's accurate at all, but that's from what I read, from what I've heard from George Miller in certain interviews and stuff. So that this movie still is within the same universe and still takes place with the same events of the previous three movies. So that's pretty cool to see that, obviously this is a little bit more modern and stuff like that. It's not Mel Gibson playing Max anymore, it's Tom Hardy, but it is still chronologically within the same universe and same timeline, according to what I've read. But before I give you all my thoughts about Mad Max Fury Road, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Join the Nerd Talk family. I'd love to hear our guys' thoughts in the comment section down below about Mad Max Fury Road, about Furiosa, about Mad Max in general, the entire franchise. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the pros. Now, starting off with the pros, I absolutely love this movie. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. This is for sure in my top 100, probably even my top 50 movies of all time. This is such a great movie. There's so much action. There's great acting. There's amazing practical and CGI effects. There's just so much going on screen that is absolutely amazing. So let's go ahead and kind of break everything down. First and foremost, Tom Hardy as Max. I absolutely love Tom Hardy as an actor. I think he does an amazing job in this movie as well. I do think he is a great replacement for Mel Gibson. Tom Hardy kind of, in a sense, looks like a young Mel Gibson throughout this movie, so you can definitely see that kind of resemblance between the two. And I think he actually portrays Max very well, just like Mel Gibson did, where he's just a straight up badass, doesn't say too much, he knows what he does what he does, and he's just an awesome badass that we love to see on screen. And Tom Hardy is such a charismatic person, so when you see him on screen, even though he's being kind of a dick to Furiosa and some of the girls, you still want to root for him, you still think he's a badass, you still are on his side. So I absolutely love him in that role. Charlize Theron as Furiosa, I think, is amazing. She does an amazing job. She's also a extremely badass person in this movie. Definitely kicks a lot of ass, but I also just think Charlize Theron also has a lot of charismatic natures to her, and she definitely portrays Furiosa very well, and I absolutely love her character in this movie. Well, we just had some technical difficulties. I just finished reviewing my entire Fury Road review, and when I went to go check my camera, it wasn't recording because the storage was full. That's insane. I have so much to say about this movie. But continue on where I was leaving off on my last point, because I did save a little bit of it. When you do see my Furiosa review, you're going to see that I mentioned, did we really need background story for Furiosa? That is something that prequels always tend to kind of not really comprehend, is whether or not do we actually need to see where these things came from. Do we need these questions answered? And watching Fury Road again, I don't believe we do. I think that this movie does so much better, and Furiosa as a character has so much more intrigue and is so much more interesting, not knowing where she kind of came from. knowing that she gave us a little bit of her background story, but didn't tell us the full amount. We didn't see visions, we didn't see a background story, none of that stuff. And I think her character as a whole actually works so much better with having a little bit of that mystery, a little bit more of that intrigue, and just having her being a badass as she is. Yeah, sure, you probably want to know a little bit about her, but she gives you enough where you don't really need too many answers, too many questions answered. You don't need a whole movie about her. So even though I did enjoy Furiosa as a movie, I do think that it brings down Fury Road a little bit just because you lose a little bit of that mystery of these characters. And this movie is just so freaking badass. I mean, there's so much things going on, all the great practical effects mixed with the CGI effects. There are some CGI effects in this movie as well, but it's done very well where you believe everything that's going on screen. You have some pretty good practical explosions, some pretty good practical crashes, and there's just so much going on that I absolutely love in this movie. It's so action packed, and the score and the music of this movie, it fits with what's going on screen. It's so intense. It keeps you at the edge of your seat. And this is probably one of the only Mad Max movies that I personally believe that the score and the music actually fits with what's going on screen. I don't know what it is about the other Mad Max movies where the music doesn't really particularly fit. Sometimes the music isn't intense enough. Sometimes it's too intense for what's going on. Sometimes the music is barely there in the background. You can barely hear it. So, but this movie absolutely brings that intensity up to 10 with the rock and roll music, the metal music that you're hearing, especially that fucking badass car that has like all the drums in the background. Then you have that guitarist in the front with the flamethrower guitar. The entire time they're in the chase scene, he's just rocking out with the flamethrower guitar. Like that's just such an awesome visual and such an awesome sequence. Like this whole car chase, the movie is basically one giant car chase, and it's just so amazing. Everything that's going on, all the explosions, all the characters. There's so much going on that I absolutely love. And like I said, this is one of my favorite movies of all time. This is one of the best action movies to ever release ever, and I just absolutely love this film. I also really enjoyed Nicholas Hoult. I believe Nicholas Hoult plays Hux, if I remember correctly, and I love Nicholas Hoult as a character, as a actor, I should say. And him playing as Nux is, I think, one of the best characters within this movie. He has such an amazing character arc throughout the entire film, where he starts off being very loyal to Immortal Joe, and as time goes on, he starts to kind of want to kind of fit in the group with Furiosa and Max and these women that Immortal Joe kind of enslaved, and he starts to help them and is trying to help them get to the green place. And you kind of see his character develop so much. He probably has one of the biggest character developments out of this entire movie, and you just love seeing that because Furiosa and Max, their characters kind of stay pretty steady in their character arc and their characterizations, where Nux really has a pretty big arc and a pretty big development over time. So, and he has just he's a very interesting character, and by the end of it, you see him actually fulfilling his kind of dream, and you feel good for him, even though he starts off being one of the antagonists. You feel great for him, and you enjoy his character, and you end up kind of sympathizing with him, and seeing him kind of fulfill his destiny, the way he kind of sees it and envisions his mind. It's awesome to see on screen. So you really enjoy Nux as a character as you kind of go through this whole entire journey with him as well. I also really like Immortal Joe in this movie, a little bit more in this movie than I did in Furiosa. He's a lot more menacing in this film. I really love his character design. I love his just his characteristics, how menacing he is, how badass he is. His car is extremely awesome. He's definitely a great antagonist in this movie as we're doing this ginormous car chase scene. So I absolutely love Immortal Joe in this movie. I would love to see a movie about Immortal Joe, kind of seeing his kind of upbringing, how he became the leader of the Citadel, how he got all the war boys, and I think that would have been an awesome film to see. And who knows, we might get something like that in the future. You never know with George Miller. He's gonna have this Mad Max franchise until the day he dies. He's gonna continue on with this franchise because it's such a unique, awesome world to live in and to kind of build upon and create more movies in. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw an Immortal Joe kind of prequel origin story. I feel like that would be kind of awesome to see, just because his character is definitely one of the more unique characters that you see in the entire franchise. I also really love all the costume designs and car designs and set designs. Like just visually, this movie is probably one of the best looking. You know, all the suits and jackets and the way the War Boys look and everything like that. The way, especially the way Immortal Joe looks, it's super badass. All the cars are extremely unique. I think that we have some of the best and most unique cars and war rigs out of the entire franchise. Especially the set design is amazing. This is the first time we see the Citadel, and it's such a crazy, unique place that we kind of start off in. So overall, visually, I think this movie does amazing. Pacing wise, I think George Miller directed this movie beautifully, and pacing wise, you never really lose anything. You're always at the edge of your seat. You never feel like it's slowing down. You never really get bored because there's just always something going on. Even when there's like the downtime, there's still that little intensity in the back of your neck, because even when like the war rig breaks down or they're camping out for the night and they're trying to cool off the engine and stuff, you hear in the background all the other vehicles coming in. You hear the metal music, the gunshots and everything like that. So there's always that intensity. Even at the downtimes, there's just that little bit of kind of nerves. Like you don't have that much time. You have to hurry up. You got to get out of here. So even on the slow times, even the down times, the intensity is still up, and you never find yourself being bored. This movie is absolutely 100 miles a mile, 100 miles a minute from the beginning all the way until the end. And this is kind of like a staple for Mad Max from watching all of them this past week, is that there's not that much dialogue in these movies. There's always just kind of just quiet. The music's hitting. They're in the cars. They're fighting. There's never really that much dialogue. This movie, I think, has one of the least amount of lines out of the entire franchise. AMC posted something that this movie only has 68 lines in total from beginning to end, and it works. It doesn't make the movie boring. There's not crazy expedition. And just the acting, the body language, the facial expressions, the way they look at each other, they tell such a compelling story just using their emotions and emoting and facial expressions. So even though there's a little bit of lines within this movie, it still tells a very intense, badass, compelling story from beginning to end. But yeah, if you've never seen Fury Road, you absolutely need to watch it. Go put it in right now after you see this review, because it's one of the best movies of all time. It's in my top 100, probably even in my top 50 movies of all time. Fury Road is such a amazing action-packed movie that is just amazing from beginning to end. I absolutely love it. Every time I watch it, it's so much fun. It's one of the best movies in the entire franchise, if not for me, the best movie in this entire franchise. But I would love to hear you guys' thoughts about this movie. So definitely go watch it. Let me know if you've never seen it before. Such an amazing movie. So much action, such a great score, such amazing actors. There's so much going on in this movie that if you've never seen it again, go watch it. It's just amazing. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the cons. And there's not much cons for me. I have maybe one con of this movie. The entire time I was rewatching it right now, I was trying to find things that I probably don't like, and I really couldn't. There's one thing that bugged me, and it's bugged me ever since I've ever seen this movie for the first time ever, and that is the fact that we spend about half of the movie heading towards the green place. We get there, and then we end up coming right back to the Citadel. So you spend one half going one way, the other half going the other way, and it's such a weird thing to do where it feels like the first half kind of feels like a waste of time, like all this action and death and people getting injured was all for nothing because we're just gonna head right back to the Citadel. That is really the only complaint or the thing that bugs me about this movie. Other than that, if you can look past that, which I can pretty much every time, it makes me laugh every time I watch it, but I can look past it. This movie is absolutely almost perfect. I absolutely love this movie. Definitely recommend it. Go watch it right now. But overall, I absolutely love Fury Road. Like I've said 1,000 times in this review, excuse me, it is one of my favorite movies of all time. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below about Fury Road. Let me know your excitement of Furiosa. Also, let me know your thoughts about the entire Mad Max franchise as a whole. I will be doing a ranking of the entire Mad Max franchise. That should be coming out in the next couple of days. So definitely go ahead and look out for that review or that ranking when it does come out. But again, if you guys like talking anything movies, TV shows, or video game related, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And I'll see you guys on the next review. Thank you.